His wife wants an urgent interdict halting that funeral. Lerato Sengadi says she entered into a customary marriage with Jabulani Tsambo. She says it's her legal right to make all decisions around his burial. Sengadi seeking protection under customary law. Well, joining us this morning to explain how all of it works is historian Professor Pitika Ntuli. Professor, good morning. Thanks for your time this morning. And I mean, you know, it's sad that we have to be having this discussion at a time where a man should be laid to rest after, you know, the life he's had. But explain to us now, you have been reading the story, you understand what Lerato Sengadi is saying is that there was a ceremony, there was some sort of lobola that was paid. Is she entitled, from what we know, is she entitled to have the say over how he's laid to rest, when and where?
I mean, first and foremost, if you lived with somebody, whether you are married or not married, and it's been an open, issue, you do have a right. However, when we talk customary law, what are we actually talking about? We're talking about two families coming, together, making an arrangement that their own children can be able to live with each other. There are rituals that have got to be done, and in this particular case, we hear that there's been a 35,000 rand that has been paid, towards it. And in customary marriage, you don't necessarily have to complete, the lobola, fee if you are poor. The families know that there's one cow that is remaining. So in this particular case, one is not actually sure as to whether did the two families come together in that ceremony that Lerato feels completes a marriage. Was a community involved in it, where the rituals actually performed.
So what would make it a complete, what would make it a proper customary marriage? Because like you said, the money, or whether the actual transaction, if we're talking about money, cows, that the full amount wasn't paid, but the actual ceremony, that there was something that happened with the two people present, would that have to happen? And like his family says, there was no animal that was slaughtered. All of that didn't happen. Does it still make it a customary marriage? It
is not a complete customary marriage if those sacrifices have not been made, if the families have not been together. But this case goes beyond just the issue of customary marriage. The issue of Ubuntu gets involved. I project myself. If my son lived with somebody and my son had his own problems, and that person looked after that person, even put that person into a medical scheme in order to help him, means to say these two people are definitely in love with each other. It is the issue of the family coming out with a gesture, in a sense of Ubuntu, that this person has got to participate in it. If you love your son, then you have got to respect also what his feelings are. So
while she might not be expected to have the complete say, you're saying that she should at least be given some consideration, some say in how all of this happens and how he's laid to rest. She can't make all the final decisions.
Because she is the one that actually knew what his thoughts are and what his dreams may be, even if he did not know that you are going to die. That spirit of them sharing together has got to be shared by their families.
And I suppose in a case like this, and I'm not saying that that is the case here, the family might think, okay, here she comes. She might now want to take the car, she might now want to take the house, and I'm not saying that that is the case here, but it's your thoughts might go that way as somebody observing this case. Would she be entitled then to possessions and things in terms of, like, what if we have to talk about things like wills?
I think legally, if there's no will, then that's not. That's why customary marriage wants the two families to be in it. So that, in other words, if one partner dies, the remaining one has got to inform their own parents to say, my partner has died. Then the parents have got to inform the parents of the deceased that it is. So then the matter is within the families, themselves. If
so they must decide. They must sit down and have that discussion and say, okay, you can continue living in this house, or you can take this, or you can...
If then the families come together, whatever the matters of the property are going to be agreed by the two kind of families, because the families are now related to each other. They are no longer two separate families.
Very quickly for us, Prof, would it matter if, like, a month ago, or I think it was a couple of months ago, that she'd moved out, he admitted that there was some kind of infidelity and they weren't together in the same space at the time? Would that matter?
That wouldn't matter at all. People do quarrel.
Okay. All right. Short and sharp. That's how it is. Thanks very much. That's historian Pitika Ntuli just breaking it down for us in terms of tradition and customary law. Coming up, your sport with Michael McKenna.